Welcome to the show, friends. I'm Leigh Brown.
Thank you.
You are here at Crazy Shit in Real Estate. And if you're one of our new video viewers on YouTube, hey, there's 3.5 years worth of episodes on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. So go enjoy the heck out of those. To all of my normal iTunes listeners, hey, we're still here, but you can come to YouTube if you want to look at us. If you get bored, whatever, we're glad to see your face. And then you can see that Tricia is obviously ready for the Super Bowl. We are recording this episode right before Super Bowl, whichever one it is, with Kansas City versus who y'all playing? I forgot.
San Francisco.
San Francisco. I should
the 49ers.
Because it's Elizabeth Mendenhall versus Vince Malta, and I totally had already forgotten because I really don't care that much. Although I will say there was an amazing Twitter feed yesterday of a guy who was looking for better suggestions for the halftime show. And people have come up with some really good things, like they should have the draft during halftime. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Or take the two worst teams in the league and let them play a sudden death. I think I would enjoy that. And the best suggestion, though, was to have a mascot game at halftime.
Oh, now that would be fun. Mascots.
I mean, way better than a concert of music nobody listens to when a boob might fly out, because I think the Janet Jackson incident forever colored the halftime show. But welcome to Crazy Shit in Real Estate, a weekly podcast where I walk you through some of the wildest, most unbelievable stories you'll hear from the world of real estate. If you like real estate and you love crazy, this is the podcast for you. Tricia, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're located, how long you've been in real estate, any of the things they should know about Tricia.
So I am located in the Kansas City metro area. Actually, my office is in Blue Springs.
But are you KC-Mo or KC, Kansas? Or are you KC?
KC-Mo. I have only got my Missouri license. I kind of avoid the Kansas license for now, just because I've got 3 kids that demand a lot of attention.
And you are a professional who likes to stay in her lane, right?
I do. I kind of prefer to kind of be in a certain radius, not travel, miles and miles outside my box.
All right,
I
so
like
you
to be
got
in my box.
We won't let anybody hashtag that, because that could take us in a whole different direction. We're not attacking. We're classy professionals right here. So you've got 3 kids. Right. You do real estate in Kansas City. How long have you been doing professional real estate?
I've coming up on my 5th year, so pretty new to this business.
No. We don't get to say that here, because I will remind you that 85% of licensees quit within the first 2 years. If you've made it to 5, sister,
that's true.
Seriously a survivor. So
that's true. I was going to say that. That was in my notes. I was going to say, but I survived more than most people, so I've been doing good. I think from the group that I started with here in this brokerage, we have probably 2 or 3 of us that survived. So
that means you're in a great office, though. That means they're good at nurturing and mentoring and supporting you in growth. That's great.
We do. We have a great broker here. He is phenomenal. He travels the country, does a lot of educating, training and stuff. So he brings it all back to us. So he's pretty phenomenal.
Who is your broker, Tricia?
His broker, the broker is David 𝙏𝙀𝘼𝘾. So he's pretty great. He's grown our building a lot. He's actually got several brokerages in the area. So
that's fantastic.
Does very well. So my background is actually, I have a master's degree in social work.
So you have a giant heart.
I do have a giant heart. So I was a licensed clinical social worker for 12 years in private practice. So I was dealing with the craziness of the world. Crazier than real estate by far. So it makes this job. Though. It is. It's a perfect fit. So when everyone else is stressed out about real estate stuff, I'm just like, hey, no one's killing themselves or jumping off a roof.
We're so good over here. This is no big deal.
Yeah. I'm like calm and cool and collected. Other people are losing their minds. So
but I have to ask you a question, though. Well. Does it drive? You're a licensed professional, so you had to go through tons of education and certifications to become a social worker who's got the right way to counsel and provide therapy to people. Does it drive you crazy when realtors refer to themselves as therapists? Because it makes me a little bit angry under the collar, because they're telling people that they're doing something that they're not qualified to do. They feel like they're therapists, but they say I'm a therapist. It kills me. Does it bother you?
Yeah, that stuff drives me crazy. Because there's a lot of professions that think that, you know, you can go to your hairstylist. Oh yeah, I'm like a therapist. I'm like, no, you're not. You know nothing about mental health. You know nothing about mental illness. You sure can't diagnose mental illness. So stay in your lane.
Just listen. You can listen, but don't diagnose.
Yeah. You're, you know, just like you can say you're a friend, I guess, because that's what you are if you're just, you know, sitting there chit-chatting.
So how do you pick a good therapist? I mean, what should people, they need somebody to talk to that is licensed. How do you pick a good one?
Geez, that's a tough thing to do, I will say, because it's not like, you know, it's not like they carry really reviews. You know, it's not like their patients go on and review them on Google.
Oh my gosh, you're right, Trish. I never thought about that. You're not going to see really 5 stars.
Yeah, you hope that, you know, insurance companies generally keep a log of how they feel that professional has been treating their patients and stuff. But it's really hard. It's kind of
That's fascinating. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's not like they're reviewed. So, I mean, I've had to refer clients on at some points to other therapists, and they would come back and go, that person's horrible. I'd be like, well, you know, you have to go by what the insurance company will pay for, number one. And then, you know, you hope that they've kept some kind of log of, yeah, that person's done a good job with these people. But it's not an easy thing to do. And,
you know, it's almost a direct parallel to real estate, although it's easier to find reviews on realtors. But then again, they can be totally skewed if you had 50 friends or you hired one of these offshore companies to make up reviews about you so that you sound good. But then honestly, and we learned this in real estate, every buyer or seller has their own issues going on, whether it's mental or time frame or money or whatever. And then you add a house to it, and then you add a buyer with their issues to it. And suddenly the realtor who has issues is tossed in, and the second realtor with their issues is tossed in. So everything is wildly different. And so the reviews don't even accurately always reflect what the realtor is doing because the situations are so different. But like relocation, you don't get to pick your agent. If you are being relocated by your company, you get handed a firm. The firm hands you an agent, and you're not going to have accurate reviews in that regard either because those agents are getting skinned alive. But holy smokes, I'm totally obsessing over mentally right now the lack of reviews in mental health and what a possible future solution would be to that, because obviously that's how my brain works. But let's get back to real estate. So 5 years ago, you got into real estate. Why did you pick real estate and take a break from social work?
Well, I was kind of forced to. So I had become really, really sick. So I had been pretty much homebound for about 3 years, trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I ended up diagnosed with lupus. So it is. And so my health was keeping me from being the therapist that I always been. I was always 24/7 on call. I did in-home family therapy. I was dealing with lots of sexual abuse trauma, lots of suicide ideation, suicidal behaviors with adolescents and their families. So I was the go-to. I mean, I was always on call and I was always there. So with my illness, I was just unable to do anything really. So I took a break from work, and then 3 years all of a sudden passed. I got diagnosed. I was feeling better, but in that 3-year span, of course, I hadn't done my CEUs for a while. So I had to make a choice. And my doctor was kind of like, you know, Tricia, you really need to, I know you love that career and you call it good stress. We don't call it good stress, but stress is stress for lupus. So I needed to lower my stress level. And the doctor basically said, hey, do you want to, you
do real estate? It's so easy.
Well, I said, you know, I can't really give up the 3 kids, I guess. And I was married at the time, but I did give that up, which was good.
Did that lower your stress level?
Yeah,
I mean,
it did. It made it a little better. But so I thought, you know, what other career can I do where I'm out in the public, setting my own kind of schedule, but really have a job to where I can feel like I'm still being helpful to people. So real estate, I liked remodeling houses on my own. I was doing a lot of that kind of stuff. I've always been a builder kind of person. So I kind of like that kind of field. So I thought, okay, heck, you know, let's give it a try. And it's actually worked out really well. I will say I love it. I probably don't love it as much as I was when I was a therapist because it was just there was different. I mean, that was different
Sure.
level of commitment and, you know, things you were doing. It was pretty life gratifying. This is gratifying too. You know, it's awesome to go into houses and, you know, talk to people every day and help them with whatever the big decisions that they're making. You know, I always say though, the thing about me as a therapist on that other side is I go to listing appointments with people potentially getting divorced, and I end up saving the marriage and getting rid of my listing. So I've done that a couple times, which has been really good. But in the end, they end up, you know, 2 years later calling me and say, hey, we're still together. We want to buy a new house. And so it's really cool to be able to do that. My team owner, he just kind of looks at me, goes, oh no, is it another divorcing couple? He said, well, we won't get that listing. So, but you know, it's still gratifying. So
the realtor who talks herself out of a job, that's a gift, frankly, but it's a happy one.
It is. It makes me really happy. And there's a couple Zillow reviews of a couple of those clients that actually tell that story in my Zillow reviews. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I mean, that's the proof that you're in this for something bigger than commission dollars and something bigger than the awards and the volume on the wall. You're in this because you get to be an active participant in making people's lives better. And I think that's one of the craziest parts of real estate, that in pre-licensing class, they don't talk about that because they're just giving you the rules and regulations. And then you get into the business and there's so many snakes out there that just want the dollars. But in reality, that's the realtors like you who were completely dialed into the best thing for the people across the table that survive long term. And I have to point out, though, it's hilarious to me that you are working longer hours as a social worker therapist than you are in real estate. So all those realtors that complain about long days need to come talk to you about what a long day actually is.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I consider this almost like part-time, even though I'm full-time. So
you know how to control it now because you can. It's not suicidal.
Absolutely.
That is hair on fire stuff. Real estate is not hair on fire.
Absolutely. And, you know, Leigh, I wanted to tell you, so 3 years ago, I was at R4 and I saw you speak. And so I was a pretty new right then. And, you know, I had just kind of gotten really started. And I remember I had always from the get-go argued the whole thing about dual agency. And ethics have been a big thing for me. So I argued that from day one that was, you know, completely inappropriate. I couldn't believe that happens, and I was never doing it. So
go you.
Just between that and then hearing you talk about relationships, it kind of made me breathe a little easier coming into this business because I had a very different slant. So when there were meetings, I would speak up a very different point of view. It never came from a salesperson kind of thing. It was always, I believe that this job is more about customer service than it is about sales. So the more I can do that, the better.
Well, and that's the beauty of real estate, frankly, with 1.4 million of us out there. There is a business model for everybody, and we can all argue till we're blue in the face about different ways to conduct business and the best ways to do it right. And frankly, I think you and I are right, and we're on the podcast right now, so nobody gets to argue with us. And so don't at me about dual agency. It should be outlawed. It's a conflict of interest. But anyway, in that space, 5 years in the business has given you a different perspective on what it is versus what you thought it was going to be. So Tricia, I would love to know what the craziest thing is that you've seen that you had zero idea could possibly ever happen in professional real estate.
Right. You know, and I've been in a lot of houses over the years, Leigh. I mean, in my other job, I was in houses that were cockroach infested. I mean, sitting on the edge of the couch, all kinds of stuff. But so I didn't quite expect that real estate would be similar. I thought, you know, people are going to sell their houses. Surely they're going to, you know, clean things up, make it nice, you know. So this was the one that always gets me is it was probably like my third client, like my third person. You know, we're nice little lady. We're walking around doing all these houses and get to this little house, cute little ranch house. And it's all updated, you know, on the main level. We're all excited. We're in there. Oh, she likes it. I'm getting all excited. You know, she's just the sweetest little lady you want to take care of, right? And so we decided, well, let's go downstairs and see what the basement's like. So I'm reaching for a light, no light, can't find light. So we, you know, tread carefully down the stairs and I see the string lights, you know, the old pull string light in the basement. So I'm thinking, okay, let me get down here. I pull that string light and all these little eyeballs are around, all around the room.
When you say all these,
Yeah.
how many are we talking?
We're talking hundreds of eyes staring at you.
No,
It
ma'am.
was,
No, ma'am.
yeah, it was the creepiest thing. And it's all shelving, and there's all these little doll heads. And their eyes are catching the light, and they're just all staring at you.
Dude, you're in a Stephen King novel. Like
it was almost
one.
like, so my heart is racing. I'm thinking we're going to die. My little old lady is behind me. She's panicked. So we finally, take a deep breath. Okay, this lady must make dolls or something. So when we go to the next little light and we pull it, and then all of a sudden there's all the bodies with no heads. Girl, I was out the door. I was like, I'm done.
Bye.
I'm done. I can't deal with it. Run up the stairs. So I swear for probably the next couple of weeks, every time I went in the basements, I'm like, have my phone on, my camera on my phone. I'm looking and shining, because those little eyes, I'm telling you, those old porcelain dolls and those long lashes and those little eyeballs.
Yeah, the Cupid dolls.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you never forget those when it's in the dim light of the basement.
Did your lady buy this house?
Heck no. She said she would never be able to sleep. She said, I don't care what it is, I'd never be able to sleep in that house. I'm like, yeah, me neither. There's no way. But, I thought that was so funny, because I'm always thinking, and I still think this way, is like, when you do a listing and you have the showing agent comments, you might want to comment about these things. If you can't get the seller to get rid of it, then at least, warn us. So
there's going to be 1,000 heads in the basement. So if you're concerned about heads and bodies, don't show that. There's no way to say that. That doesn't sound creepy.
No. Yeah, I know. Just like, I had another time where I was going, it's always basements. You think, everything's upstairs so nice. And then you go to that basement and you're touching shag carpet on the walls. And that's the first sign of, like, I'm going, I don't know what I'm headed to. And
Tricia, that's the first sign of a porn studio. Don't touch the shag walls, girl.
Well, we quickly learned, because you go downstairs and you had that old 70s bar that's wrapped with that fake leather, and
I think that was called 𝙁𝙀𝘼𝙏.
Yeah. You got bean bags and private lighting and a little swing and a little stripper pole. I mean, you're like going, oh my gosh, what am I in?
You're in the entertainment room, the romper room. That's what we used to call it, was the romper room.
And girl, I used to see that stuff when I was in my other profession, but usually those people were then sex offenders. So it was a little different. So this has been, I never thought I'd see this stuff again, especially when it's a house listed for sale. I'm just like, to listing agents, I'm just like, hey, when I go to a listing appointment, people say, well, what should we not have? I'm just going to tell you straight out. Can you get rid of the swings and the stripper poles?
Let's just get rid of all of this.
Yeah.
And let's go to Kirkland's and buy some very basic, boring stuff.
I know. I'm like, don't worry about it. I tell my team, I say, because I'm the team lead. So we have a team owner, and then I'm the team lead of our team. And I just tell them, I said, don't worry about hurting their feelings. You've got to be straight shooter. If there's all these animal heads all over the wall, and some people, that's pretty offensive. Get rid of it. You don't run your buyer pool for, your own little hobby.
And that's the direct correlation to what you did before, because if you sugarcoat it in therapy, then somebody's not going to be able to push through and get well. And if you don't tell the truth in listing a house, you're going to waste their time and their money. They're going to get aggravated. Absolutely. They're going to get less money. I mean, it all adds up.
Yeah, I'm not one to sugarcoat. I sure wasn't that as a therapist. I was kind of on that fringe of things. I cuss, scream, pretty much anything I could do.
I would hire you. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I still have clients, teenagers that I used to work with, that are on my Facebook account, and they touch base with me now. They're parents and they've got kids, and they see me around and they come run and hug me, and people will be like, how do you know them? I said, I just know them.
That means you did it right.
Yeah, it was a good thing. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So Tricia, if anybody's looking for an amazing realtor who's actually a licensed therapist, but she's really conducting real estate in the KC area, how can they find you in the great wide world of things?
So I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff, just Tricia Dygert. I'm also, you can reach me on my website, homestriciadygert.com. And, it's pretty easy to Google me. I Googled myself the other day and I pop right up there. I don't know how, but somehow my tech guy helps me out.
We appreciate you, Dan. And by the way, people, you should Google yourselves once in a while, even if you're not a realtor, if you're one of my normal people listening who's just, being a voyeur into real estate.
Yeah.
Google yourself and see what comes up, because if it's shifty, shady stuff like, 𝙁𝙀𝘼𝙏 covered bars and shag carpeted walls, and that wasn't you should probably get that fixed. Tricia, thank you for coming on the show. And by the way, thank you for being a leader of other people in your office. And I hope you have a big time for the Super Bowl on Sunday.
I plan to. Thanks, Leigh. It was great.
Guys, I know y'all didn't write down any of her information, and I love you for that, and it's okay. It's all in the show notes for this episode. If you have questions or comments, reach out to Tricia. She can help you in Kansas City. If you want to be on the show, hit me at Leigh Brown on Twitter, or hit me in the comments section here or on any of the social networks, and we'd love to feature you in the future. In the meantime, hit subscribe because I need you. Give me 5 stars because I want it, and we'll see you on this place next time.
If you are listening to this episode and you need to tell us something about your crazy life in or around real estate, then tweet me at Leigh Brown or reach me on any of the social networks. That's if you're a broker, realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular normal human being who happens to have dealt in real estate. Subscribe for more episodes, and as always, we are thrilled that you joined us for some crazy shit in real estate. See you next time.